Hey, what's up, Liron here, and today we're looking at the excellent work of Marcos Beccari. A lot of people have been asking me to review his paintings, and here he is on the screen. Now I'm going to remove you, Marcos, because we're going to look and focus on your paintings, but just want to say, be sure to check out this artist. Again, many people are familiar with him. Just amazing control of watercolor technique. He's based in Brazil. I believe he's Brazilian, born there. And on the screen, you're seeing right now the very first painting of his that I've seen, the one I discovered him through, and just wow. So a couple of things I want to note, and this is going to focus mainly, I think, around his perfect layering, and that is how every layer plays its role in a perfect manner when it comes to the everything. So it comes down to edges and how smooth or soft it is, how blended it is, colors, everything. It's quite a spectacle to watch, and we are very pampered because he is uploading a lot of videos on his Instagram. So definitely be sure to check that out. I will put links in the description box. But let's begin with this one, the first one I discovered him from. And one of the first things I noticed about this one is the curls and how they catch the light, which is just an amazing effect. It's such a small touch, but it really tells the story so well. Now, obviously, the right side of the painting, you will notice, this is just, you can see it here, it's blended. It's wet and wet, and it creates this sense of focus on the woman. And the way it's blended, this technique is so complex. And to me, based on what I'm seeing in his paintings, he really has the ability to play around with it like a volume knob and increase or decrease how, what do you call it, a bokeh effect, right? How blended it is, or how you know, how much it feels like the focus is on the focal point or in the background, this balance, which is quite a skill to have. So let's we'll look at a couple of them. I'm getting used to the new setup, so you'll forgive me, like moving in and out of photos is a bit of a thing I'm getting used to. So here's another great example of how the focal point and the background is all the same person, right? So we have her hands and they're in the focus, whereas the background and the face is out of focus. So sometimes you can make you can decide basically on what you want to put in the focus and what you want to leave out. It doesn't have to be a figure and then a background. It could be parts of the person themselves. So this is really, really cool. Now I want us to go back to this one. Okay, and yeah, we can take a moment to appreciate this one a little more. These little edges around is so well done that everything blends together, and luckily for us we do have a video to see, and we can analyze a bit of the process. We won't go into too much depth, but you will see. Now, talking about colors and temperature, it's all, to me, perfect. It's all like hitting the exact balance of everything, where warm versus cool, right? Every different color and the hues that are used, the shapes themselves, very interesting. The edges, like I'm sure he's getting people to model for him, and then he kind of, you know, you have control over the light and how you want to set things up and what you want to decide on the focal point and all of that. Just very, very impressive. Now, one thing I will put more emphasis on is the colors in just one second, but look at her earring. Like, this is so beautiful how it catches the light here. Yeah, I can do that. Can I do that? No, yeah. How it catches the light here is just amazing. And then if we zoom out, right, so it starts to make more sense, right? Because the top and bottom of the earring where it's rounded are the parts that reflect light, and then the middle probably reflects something else, maybe a shadow or whatever. Now, I want us to go to this one. Before we look in the process, to be able to pull this off with all of this interesting reflected light, that's something you just don't see as much in watercolor, which is why I really, really appreciate seeing that. So you have all of the top planes of the face reflecting a red light, just fantastic. And then the bottom and the sides and some other areas are green. That's true mastery of composition and having a solid plan, like a really good plan. It's not just about he's a master of technique and very skilled at that, but there's also a matter of planning that goes into that. Now, I want you to notice how, and this is a motif we'll see later on as well, how the areas around, right, the peripherals of the painting are a little more loose, and that really creates a beautiful sense of balance where you feel like as the viewer, it's a pleasure to look at because you know exactly like what to focus on. Your eye travels across the painting very freely. Now, let us go to the first video. I want to show you this process because it's just really mind-boggling the way it does that. So, and we can analyze it. We can pause and actually I'm full screen. Let me exit full screen, play on the video. So if you look at this first wash, right? And I'm gonna pause a lot, okay? So if you look at this first wash, and this is why I call it perfect layering, and he really uses that to, the cliche is to use as strong and saturated colors as you can in the first wash, and that cliche is actually true because it does. First off, the color will dry much more muted. That's the nature of watercolor. And second, that's your biggest opportunity to show strong saturation and bright colors, because afterwards the more you layer, the less of it is going to be visible. I hope that makes sense. So you see these very strong colors, and actually let's look at the whole thing and then let's kind of enjoy it, and then we'll look at some of the individual stages, right? And of course this is, who knows how fast it is, probably like at least 7 or 8 times fast from my experience in using time-lapse in my own videos. So you're seeing as the layers progress, the colors do become a little more muted and a little more limited in their areas, right? Now, this doesn't mean, and it's actually a part of what he does, he actually uses saturated colors in the following layers too, not just the first layer. And this is what I find impressive, because he really knows how to add these colorful details later on. So take a look at this, okay? Again, first wash, I want to go back just a bit and see how I want to capture this section. Oh, we don't see it, where this part under the eye really is spilled in. It's just beautiful. But in any case, look at how saturated it is, even in the bottom sections, right? Even where later on it's going to be a little muted and cooler and kind of more blended and less, like giving us the feeling of focal point here, blended details down below. Even there's such a strong, like, something that looks like phthalo green, some kind of a blue. I don't know if it's ultramarine, probably something else. Looks a little different. Not to mention, there's a nice difference in temperature using complementary colors. So you have the green versus red. That's a very strong combination, and it's one you'll usually see where there is strong reflected light, like here, because it's mostly artificial. So something like a person standing next to neon lights, me sitting next to my computer that has all these colorful lights. It's not natural in a sense. It's not of nature. It's a human-made thing. So you see this a lot. And then the background. Now, one of the reasons I really wanted to review him in particular, Marcos's work, is because he has this ability to paint realistically, but never lose sense of what makes watercolor the beautiful medium it is. So he's not working in tons of thin glazes. He's actually making use of blending colors, letting colors mix together, using large wet washes. There's a lot of the truth in what makes watercolor beautiful in his work, and it's realistic on top of that. So unlike other artists that I've reviewed here before too, that create beautiful realistic results, but they work in small sections and layer by layer small glazes, which I find incredibly boring to paint. I can really enjoy the result, but painting that kind of a style is more of a thing that I'll do once in a while if I feel like doing it as a specific challenge. But what Marcos does here is he's utilizing watercolor to the max. Like, look at this bottom section here, all of the greens and reds and blues, they all merge together so beautifully. So just thought I'd mention that. Now look at the next wash. And this is something you see Misolbu and other artists do, is there are some saturated colors in that next wash too. So the mid values are also quite colorful, and that's something that is very easy to miss, and I'm still missing a lot. So I'll do a first layer that's very colorful, and then I'll immediately jump into muted territory. Now everything is going to be muted, and sometimes it's a waste. You're losing a lot of what makes the colors sing, because some of them are present in the next wash. And now you see a bit of, purples here under the nose, a bit of more muted colors, but you'll really notice how there are still quite a lot of strongly saturated colors. And you will see this as he moves down in the hair. A lot of blues, like the blues it's not a strong blue, so it looks very professional. It's not like a bunch of very highly saturated bright colors. There is nuance, right? But there is a variety of them. Now, as he moves down, you'll notice how reds preserve their color really well in reality. So dark reds tend to still feel very strong and not as muted. So it's very interesting to see. And then moving directly into the shadows, letting them mix together. So there's a very nice flow and a feel of this is watercolor, right? So it's taking the medium, in my opinion, to the max, and the end result, which is here, is just incredible. So this is as detailed probably as we'll look at his videos. This is, again, the first one I discovered of him, and I was like, whoa, mind blown. Now, as for this one. So this is a recent one, and I did want to include a few of his recent paintings, not just older, quote-unquote, paintings. Let me see if I go back to full screen, if we'll see it better. No, it's the same size, but it's okay. Just because it doesn't matter, I'll exit full screen. So this is another one where you're looking at it, and this thing here, I don't know if it's sandwiches or something like that. The amount of control here is pretty spectacular. Now, we do have a video of this one too, which is why, again, I urge you to follow Marcos Beccari on Instagram, because he posts a lot of videos. It's actually a real gift to humanity, the fact that he posts so many videos. Now, look at the background. The woman in the background, she's working that machine, whatever it is, or I don't know if it's a coffee thing, which reminds me, I have coffee here. Let me drink. The blue on her shirt, it's still very saturated, right? So even though he's pushing the color, the value to be darker and darker, it's still important to see whether there is a strong, bright, or very saturated dark color, and that's okay. Include that. Why not? So let's actually explore this video, because we have this gift from Marcos. There we go. So a real treat to look at. We're going to just look through this and appreciate it as is. So you see there is a control, and he's using masking fluid, of course, to mask some of these highlights. Very complex to do this kind of a flowy piece of art without masking. It's such a large-scale painting. Very tough to just skip those highlights and still maintain flow, right? And he's not the most extreme example of using masking fluid. I've seen more extreme examples of using it. And, whatever tools at your disposal, why not use them? So let's see how far we're... Yeah, okay. So just was curious to see. So look at that blue in the background, and we're going to revisit that section in just 1 second. And because I really want us to explore that, okay? So it's quite strong, right? And let's look at when he applies it. This looks like, very strong color, straight out of the... Not straight out of the tube, but like... So I bet you he's using mostly, and I may be mistaken, but freshly squeezed paint. So not really letting them dry on the palette, or maybe using a very smooth, like, I don't know if it's M-gram or something else, but colors that re-wet very easily, because he's painting large sometimes too, and to cover these large washes more easily, you kind of have to use colors that are fresh. It's very hard to do out of pans sometimes. So really a treat to watch. Let's revisit that first wash here. And you see he knows what he covers, and some areas are reserved with technique, others are reserved by masking fluid, which is also a technique, so it doesn't really matter. And again, very saturated colors where necessary. Look at this beautiful transition from blue to yellowy, showing where the light comes from. The arm, very red. So sometimes when you have something like flesh hit directly by light with a very strong sunlight, the colors are going to sing. It's going to be very strong color. And look at how once it starts to dry, it does go more muted, so you have to account for that. Look at the beautiful greens in the sandwich, whatever it is, whether it's lettuce or I don't know what it is. And I don't even know if it's sandwich. To me, it feels like, I don't know, ham and him preparing sandwiches. But just a brilliant, brilliant painting. It's very beautiful. And then here's the final result. Just this working like that, and I want to capture one moment in particular. That is when he establishes these smooth shapes on the sandwiches right around here. You see that? That was a hard edge that he played with. So let me show you again, and then we'll move on to the next one. Hard edge right here. Can you see it? And then boom, smoothing it out. And that just works so well once you remove the masking fluid. And actually, let's look at the moment. Oops, he removes the masking fluid. I want to see what that looks like, because it probably also changes the edge a bit, just a bit in some spots. It causes a hard edge in some spots. Just brilliant, brilliant. And every layer plays its role, you know, so it's not losing the saturation. Another beautiful one. Look at the light. Again, this kind of a thing. And just a quick lesson for everyone. When you have this kind of, again, flesh being hit directly by sunlight, very often, right around where light turns to dark, you'll have this thin strip of more saturated flesh tone. It happens here as well. You can see it here. On every finger, that transition from very light highlight onto the shadow, that midsection very often will have very saturated colors. So that's something you may want to utilize in your paintings, you know, it's something that is very useful. Very strong technical level and very strong creative level. Like, look at the use of colors here. I don't have a video for this one, unfortunately. Maybe there is one. I'm not familiar with that. But all of this reflected light here to the right, to the left, top, bottom, it's so clever. I believe there's a video of either this one or a similar color scheme painting. And then the hat, or, you know, straw hat, whatever it is, the transition between the yellow and purple or kind of dark violet is very smooth. That's just brilliant, brilliant work. Such a pleasure to look at. And if we zoom out, like, this is, to me, this is photorealistic, but the technique utilized to paint that was actually quite flowy, because I have seen similar ones. It's just that. It's a great control of values, you know, establishing these strong colors in the first wash. Just brilliant, brilliant. Here's a cool one, a cat. We can actually watch the video. There is one. There we go. Let's just watch it all the way through. Probably analyzed enough videos by now. But look at, again, the colors, temperatures, very strong guide. And the way you, I think, avoid having the painting look amateurish with such strong colors. First off, it's the first wash, so they're going to dry a little more muted, but also notice how he's not going for full, like, there's no pure red, pure blue, pure yellow. They're still intermingled and mixed together, which is very important. That orange contains a bit of yellow and a bit of blue and a bit of red, a bit of everything, really. And that's how you achieve that kind of a thing. Now, the whiskers, I wasn't paying attention. Was it done with masking fluid? Probably was, or it could be opaque paint. Oh, no, it was masking fluid. So you can see his painting over it and then removing it. Probably. So yeah, very interesting. And here's, by the way, this is the better cat of them, or at least the one that's a little more to my taste. This clever transition, again, where light meets the shadow, you'll often find in those mid values these strong colors. Same for ears, you know, ears thinner, so light passes through them and you get to see this beautiful red of the flesh. Very common with people too, by the way. With portraits, you'll see it often. So yeah, we have a video of this one as well, so let me go ahead and show you. And look at, again, the use of muted blues and slightly stronger reds and yellows here, and how everything is mixed together in that first wash, and it binds the painting together, so there's great flow. It's still watercolor, right? To do this, a lot of technical experience is necessary. Like, you need to understand how to build your washes fast and mix them fast, what to avoid, what to paint, how dark to go, wet and wet, you know, the way he's using wet and wet to really get all the folds and creases in the cat's skin. That's crazy. Like this section here. So look at, again, how he built that. Right around. In just 1 second, we'll see it. Okay, so this section. See red, right? He's putting in that stronger red, and then see wet and wet of those very dark blues, almost like you do in very muted. It's a gray blue. You'll do this for ripples, right? For water ripples. Again, filling in an area, wet and wet. Filling in an area, wet and wet. That's, I'm pointing with my finger as if you can see it, but with the cursor you can see it. So it's just a brilliant. It shows such a great understanding of the medium, getting these, you know, very thick paint into a mid-value kind of paint, and getting that slight movement, just slight movement. Just very impressive. Here's, again, the finished one. Genius work. And you know, the fact that this looks like red and this looks like blue, where it's all pretty much grayed out. This is more of a brown, right? This is more of a muted gray. Still, in the right context, it will look like the color even if you do just a slight exaggeration. So imagine the center is gray, and every time you push it a bit outwards towards the red, towards the blue, towards the yellow, it works so well. Here's another great example. This is a very strong staple of his, of doing these, you know, people through water with reflections and all of the ripples, warping them. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So it's been a pleasure to do this. It's been a while since I did a Painting Masters episode. We're back. I got the setup. This setup is gonna become prettier. What you're seeing around me, like below around the frames, I'm gonna make it look prettier and cooler. But definitely enjoying this one, and we're back on track. I'm gonna do many more Painting Masters. As usual, be sure to suggest if you have any artists you want me to review. I already have at least 50 artists in my list of people that I will review in the near future, but I always am looking for more. Go check out Marcos's Instagram, and I believe he has a Patreon if you want to support his great work or get a painting. But in any case, I will thank you so much for watching this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. I will see you in the next vid.